Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Sunday Project. So, whether you're joining us from Los Angeles, New York, Australia, or UK, or somewhere else around the world, we are so grateful to have you today and spend part of your Sunday with us. My name is Deb. I am a gambling addiction therapist and an advocate for to spread the word about gambling harms and tell our nation what's really going on behind the scenes, so they have a chance of keeping themselves safe. At Stop Betting Sports, we try and do something very simple but very important. We want to ask questions that people don't even know to ask and keep the conversation going, right? So we're not anti-gambling, but we're pro-awareness. And we believe people deserve honest conversation, and we are pro-education, pro-awareness, and pro-informed decision-making. As always, joined by an incredible panel, our team here, Dan Phil, Clinical Director at Stop Betting Sports, and a licensed social worker working directly on the ground with people who are experiencing gambling harms every day. Bob G continues to be one of the strongest voices here in long-term recovery and goes to anything he can go to and attend to spread the word about gambling harms and keep people motivated to stay on the path in their own recovery. Mark Levkowitz at Old Sage has spent much of his career focused on prevention, responsible awareness initiatives and public education. His deep understanding of the gambling landscape, public policy, and consumer protection also, and helping people and creating programs continues to make him one of the best in the field. And we are joined here again today by Louis. Louis, I'm going to say your name and I hope I'm getting it right again, Louis. Louis Rigerio, did I say it okay?
Yeah, it's close enough.
Okay, close enough. My name is Deborah Buhai, and I get it's pronounced in so many different ways by different people. Um, and Louis, thanks for joining us again today. Louis, you are an advocate, a true advocate. You have a podcast. You talk to people in recovery. You talk to clinicians. You're talking to everyone, and also just such a big, important voice at the moment in current affairs and things that are happening right now in the industry. I'm just so grateful you joined us just now on your honeymoon, and that is that, and that is so real. Thank you, Louis. So, on we go with bringing up our stories of today. I'm going to start with something that I think calls attention more than anything, more than the fact that we have the World Cup finals today, right? And we want to talk about the integrity of sports and how that's been affected by the industry. I have been reached out to by different media platforms. I've done newspaper interviews this week. Dan's done a newspaper interview, National Public Radio, and now I've been asked by CBS to go on Tuesday morning to talk about something that is called people are asking questions about what's going on with prediction markets in California, like what's California going to do with Kalshi, and how come California haven't sued Kalshi, but yet aren't agreeing with Kalshi either, and how have prediction market platforms affected people on our side of the fence? Are we seeing more people in treatment? So yeah, but the other thing is that I want to talk about in a moment is this debate that's happening with people on our side of the fence, especially clinicians and people that have been part of the National Council of Problem Gambling for many years. So that's something we will come to in a minute. But we are going to start with this story about the growing legal battle with prediction markets. So over to you, Mark, if you would please.
Thanks, Deb. Just to report, a growing legal battle over prediction markets, it's raising new concerns about problem gambling. Several states, sort of as what you said, Deb, argue that platforms offering sports betting events are operating like sports books without state gaming licenses, consumer protections, or required contributions to the problem gambling services, meaning where money that was earmarked from the state by state-approved gambling would go into the state of California to use it for the Cal Gets program, which offers free treatment, prevention, and a lot of other resources. That money is not going into the state as other gambling venues. The companies maintain they're federally regulated, and that's why, and they're exchanges rather than gambling operators, which we all know, if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, it's a duck, and it's gambling. For people vulnerable to gambling addiction, the distinction may mean little. These platforms can offer rapid betting, constant access, and the ability to wager on nearly every part of a sporting event. So that to me is gambling. That is not investing. That is not a prediction, and it's certainly happening in real time. And critics warn that bypassing state gambling laws, as I said before, could also lead to bypass age restrictions. I know the prediction markets are 18 instead of 21, and that the checking of their age verification and everything else is not as solid as the traditional gambling vendors. Uh, Self-exclusion programs, there's no self-exclusion for Kalshi. Advertising limits, they're everywhere. And funding for treatment. So none of that money is being funneled back into the states for programs for free treatment. The outcome of these court battles may determine who regulates prediction markets, but so far, I've been following the numbers. Uh, Kalshi and other prediction markets are winning in court because as of now, still they're considered federal instead of state. But who is responsible for protecting our consumers? And we don't even know anymore. There's almost virtually no consumer protection. Do you want me to drop in my little World Cup story, Deb, while I'm at it?
Go for it. Let's drop in World Cup because, nothing's going to stop us from talking about Bruno and the elephant in the room. So go for it.
Right. Today's final between Spain and Argentina is expected to draw one of the largest sports betting audiences of the year, with sports betting, sports books, betting promotions, flooding television, social media. And that's what we really don't even see. It's the social media and gambling apps and expose new gamblers. Every time you bring in a new gambler, we know the numbers. We don't even know the traditional numbers for prevalency of anybody who places one bet is somewhere between 1% and 5%. With sports betting, right now, we don't have all the numbers in it. It might be somewhere between 10 and 20%. So 1 in 10 people that wagers today risks the possibility of awakening a gambling addiction that might have been sitting inside their genetics for their whole life, or causing financial emotional harm. The only good thing is, like what we do here, and the states, many of the states have free treatment or treatment programs for gambling or other kind of treatment. You know, those phones should be buzzing. Back to you, Deb.
I was at a Mexico versus England game. It was a really cool venue. I felt like 1,000 people in the room, and it was such an intense, exciting game. And there was this kid next to me, and he was just on looking at his phone and not watching the screen. And a friend of mine kept tapping him, "Oi, oi, come on, watch the screen. Oh, these kids are gambling now because of this, right?" We are going to see an increase every after every sports, like even the Super Bowl. Dan gets way more calls, right? People are then going, "Oh my God, like I couldn't stop gambling. This was just meant to be fun." Um, so yeah, but going back to the previous story that you just spoke about with the prediction markets, I like how you phrase that. If it walks like a duck, how quacks like a duck, it's a duck. Make no mistake. And then we'll get clinical on this. This is gambling. This is gambling. If you can't put something down, if you are losing money, if it becomes compulsive, it's gambling. And the problem we are having right now is that it's just like opened the floodgates for this, and we're having to, as clinicians, fight and say, hold on, this is gambling. That's one of the issues. But Dan, clinically, I mean, how are we're seeing people coming to treatment, and as you know, the media are asking, what are we seeing on the outside of the fence, right? What are we seeing, Dan, clinically from people?
Well, I'm seeing a lot of parents that I'm talking to that are concerned about their 20-year-olds gambling and being caught in a lie or being subjected to a really terrible credit card bill or just the knowledge of the finances. And going online and doing some research and finding out how prevalent this is and how serious it is. With alcohol, if you are developing an alcohol dependence, there's hangovers, there's nausea, there's the physical manifestation of the addiction. And because it's just not so overt and in your face, or someone says or does something at a party that's like really embarrassing or humiliating, this is going on, on your phones while you're watching a game. It's so masterfully hidden. And gamblers and a lot of us have the ability to mask what we're feeling. There's this kind of stone face stoicism, maybe that's the wrong word, but you can just like your life could be blowing up in your face on your phone, and your parents don't know, your frat brothers don't know, and you're creating this incredible stressful tension. And meanwhile, you're gambling in class, or you're not going to class, or you're in this really just spiral of horror, of like unbelievable situations financially and emotionally that you're dealing with on your own. And it just gets to me when things are, there are academic consequences, there's, huge financial consequences. And the situations that, I'm dealing with are parents that don't understand the disorder, that are very angry, and kids that are mired in guilt and shame, humiliation, and financial devastation, that don't understand that it's not just about not placing, bets this weekend, that this is a serious addiction, as serious as heroin, as serious as alcohol, and the risk, the anticipation, the promise of a win getting you out of a situation makes this one of the most complex addictions to treat, that requires a lot of hours. And I'm convinced now, whether it's, peer-based group and individual count, it requires a commitment on the part of an 18 or 21-year-old that is rare. It's hard to find a 20-year-old that is willing to admit that they have an addiction and that they want to do everything they can in their power to get over it. It's just developmentally with the brain, it's hard to find that person, but that's what we are asking of them. They are seriously addicted at age 20, 18, 16, and the treatment is serious and requires commitment. And that's what we're facing. 1 in 10, I think, seems like the right number. 5 in 10, 20-year-olds have a sports book open. So if 1 in 10 of those, I'm not a mathematician, we're talking millions of people with this really, really serious situation.
And so, Dan, just play on words here. What do you predict prediction markets are going to do for these young people who are vulnerable to developing addiction if they're already in it?
Well, for the time being, they're going to keep on going with no self-exclusion programs, using the term responsible gambling, giving minimal amounts of money. Couple million is meaningless for Kalshi to NCPG, saying that they're doing their part. In the meantime, my God, the age of entry is 21. Now it's 18 nationwide. Sports betting is basically legal and accessible and more addicting in the platform, especially Kalshi, than it's ever been before. So they're winning, and they're winning big. So it won't be, unfortunately, until my hair is fully gray, and that the meaningful regulatory commissions come in. It will change, in the 2030s or beyond. It needs to change now. This is a crisis right now that we're not facing. So yeah, they're gonna hold on as long as they can, because it's about customer acquisition and money. That's my take.
So
Dan,
I can see Bob's hand. I can see Mark ready to go. There are so many topics around this, and so basically, what I'm hearing, Dan, is this is an issue. It's going to make the issue worse. And I am now, as I just said, going on, starting to go on, morning primetime news, to say that, is this causing a problem? Yes. Why? Is it gambling? Yes. So to the public, is it gambling? Yes. How do we know that? Well, it looks exactly the same. It's exactly the same symptoms, right? This behavior, the same thing. So yes, it is gambling. But Louis, the last 10 days, I would say, I've watched you sort of just speak truth, simple truth about something that you were shocked to realize. And I already knew, and that I'm already uncomfortable with, and so many people are uncomfortable with. The National Council of Problem Gambling has been going for decades. And just before we came on, we were having a conversation backstage about, as Mark has been part of that council for many years, it was created by people whose intentions were very, very good, to help people that were struggling with gambling harms, gambling addiction, their families, to create a space where we can look at the problem, where it's coming from, and how can we stabilize people, and how can we manage this nationwide. And this week, Louis has, on quite publicly on LinkedIn, spoken his mind and his opinion, rightly so. And you are not alone, Louis, as I've said to you. We have opinions about this, and they're quite strong. The National Council take money. I'm going to let you explain it, Louis. I'm going to let you go for it.
I want to say I've at times the last 10 days as I've gone scorched earth, I have felt a little alone and kind of felt like I put myself on my own island. But I think a lot of people who reached out to me just supporting me. And, for me, I feel like I'm in a unique position where like what my mission is and my podcast and what I'm trying to do does not depend on any money from the NCPG or institutions or state funding even. So I can really speak whatever I want to speak. And I think as I've done more research and learned more about the NCPG, and I think Mark and Bob can correct me if I'm wrong, but originally when the NCPG started, there was a requirement that like 50% of the people on the board of directors had to be a GA member.
That's
And
correct.
That's correct.
and
I believe
i-
that's correct.
is that still the case? Or
No, not
so
even close.
So it's like, to me, when I would had been learning more about NCPG and kind of the money from DraftKings and FanDuel, I was kind of like, like this doesn't seem right, but like maybe they are doing good work. And I spoke to a lot of people, and it's like, yeah, the people at the state level are doing good work, and there are good people, and that's the same case for a lot of different industries. But then when Call Sheet came and they took this money, I was just kind of like, wow, this is crazy because Call Sheet isn't the issue with Kalshi and Polymarket that I have is that they're trying to say they are not a gambling platform when they are a gambling platform. It's like if you're gonna do it, at least own it, right? It's like we can't walk this gray area and then to have them come in and NCPG, who's supposed to be at the center of leading the charge and helping compulsive gamblers takes this money and creates a whole new category for them. And then to find out that there was no vote, there was no discussion amongst the members, and it was like three or four top people in this organization that basically were like, yeah, we have to do this. And when I started asking people about it, and they were like, yeah, like we can't say anything because all of our funding and all of our grants come from the NCPG. So like we're so upset, but we can't do anything about it. And I'm like, sitting there thinking, I'm
Just
like,
wanted you
well,
to say that again, Louis, very slowly so our public understand. All of our money comes from the
the
industry,
NCP,
and
yeah,
the NCPG, and their money comes from the industry. So we can't say anything about it. right? This is
Yeah.
a really important point. That's why Stop Betting Sports will never take any, we will not take any money from the industry, and neither do you. So sorry to butt in, Louis. I just wanted to.
Yeah, so that's kind of what initially like my frustration was, and then I had tried to reach out to Heather Moore, and I didn't get an answer. I sent DMs on Instagram, didn't get an answer, and then I was just kind of like, all right, let me weigh the pros and cons of going scorched earth, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do it. Sometimes my mom tells me sometimes you need to just shut up, and I think that this is one of those times that like I shouldn't shut up. And I did it. And then what really set me off was I posted about it on Instagram and I tagged the National Council on Problem Gambling on Instagram. And then within minutes, they blocked me. And I was like, oh, okay, that's it. I'm done. I'm going straight to LinkedIn. And then I started posting on LinkedIn, and then Heather Moore blocked me on LinkedIn. And so now I'm like, all right, you know what? Now I don't care. And I'm just gonna call it how I see it. I think that Heather Moore is should not be leading the charge. I think that the head of the National Council on Problem Gambling should be led by a compulsive gambler who is in recovery, who knows how to help another compulsive gambler because he or she has done that before. And I think that it's like if my family's in the restaurant business, right? Like I I don't think we would go and hire somebody who was a car salesman to come and run my family restaurant for 30 years. Like that doesn't make sense. So I've just kind of gone full blown tilt on that. And then today I come across on LinkedIn that Derek Long, I don't know how to say his
Longmire, Longmire.
Longmire, he retweets something from Kalshi about Kalshi is expanding its wagers to include bets on drug trial results and expansion into new prediction
Uh,
territory, and just like re paraphrases this article and hashtags it at the bottom, hashtag betting trends. I'm looking at this and I'm like, what what the
you can
F
say
is
it.
going on? What is going on here? What is
Yeah.
going on here? This is insane. And I sent it to my friend, and I'm like, hey, I haven't had a drink or a drug in 3.5 years, but I feel like I'm high right now. Am I actually reading what I think I'm reading right now? And he's like, this makes no sense. And so, you know, I just I find it
Backtrack, Louis. It's been a big week. First of
it's
all, I commend you, and I know that others commend you. I've seen them on being honest. You are part of the Gambling Truth Project. If anyone wants to check that out, it is a movement. It's as simple as what it's called, the Gambling Truth Project. There's nothing better than the truth, right? Louis is part of that project and that movement, as well as Rob, speaking truth. Okay. Heather should be able to answer questions as a leader of an organization like this. I mean, I think what you were trying to do was ask questions. Mark, can I go over pivot to you because you had something to say about that earlier?
Yeah, I have a lot of history with the NCPG. I've been a member for, I think, the last 26 years. I've been to every physical conference in that 26 years, and I'll be there in Nashville. Just to strengthen what Louis said, the council was started by people in recovery, but by being limited by the rules of 12-step programs, they couldn't be vocal or outside or anonymous anymore. So they, along with Father Monsignor Dunn, started the National Council in 1972. And you're correct, the board had to be at least 50%, 50 plus 1% gambling. And one of the most classic statements Father Monsignor Dunn said was, "We will never take money from the industry." Now, when I first joined the council, it was still a pretty big council with a lot of people on recovery. When I first joined, there were 50 people on the board, and the meetings were quite interesting. Now there's 15 people on the board, of which maybe 3 spots are allocated for the possibility of somebody in recovery being on the board. And not necessarily, So, and
That again, Mark, sorry, explain that with the possibility of someone
yeah, they
in
have
recovery.
three, they usually have two or three open seats. And usually there's an opportunity for somebody from the recovery community to get on the board. And there
Mm.
usually is. Like Jeff Wasserman, Ted Hartwell, and a few others have been on the board.
Jeff
But
Wasserman's not so happy with me right now, by the
That's
way.
okay. I've read his
that,
comment, and it's okay
that's
for
fine.
people to have their opinion.
But that's what I'm saying. Those are the people that, and I love Jeff, so that's a different story. But there are people that, yeah, that aren't necessarily the people in recovery in line with the original Gamblers Anonymous. The original mission was to help gamblers and their families. Now their mission is about mitigating gambling problems, which you can't mitigate an addiction. I've been working with addicts, gambling addicts for 30 years, and you can't outthink or mitigate an addiction. And their priorities have changed. I was talking before the meeting. It's like, us as gamblers know that when we get comped by a casino, or I'm guessing, for me, it's a long time, so not by the sports betting venues, it means they want something from us. They're giving us something to get a lot more. And the National Council, I don't think, sees that at all.
Mm.
It's like, I gave the analogy, it's like the National Council on Teenage Sex Abuse taking money from Jeffrey Epstein after they already knew that Jeffrey Epstein was who Jeffrey Epstein is. It makes no sense, but I want to go to Heather. And who knows, I'm doing a workshop next week in Nashville on putting out more responsible gambling messages, or not responsible on PSAs, on public service announcements, as opposed to that. I hope who's ever listening comes to my workshop 2 o'clock on Friday. But we had a meeting, a focus group, and Heather had focus groups as she came in with all the various committees. Well, she came on to the recovery committee focus group, introduced herself, and left. And if you were on that meeting, all we did was say, we're the people that started it. We're the people that she is serving. And I thought it was so disrespectful. The meeting was scheduled way in advance. She claimed she had another meeting. So, I'm being a little careful. I'm not being careful what I say.
Mark,
Like I
Mark,
say,
Mark,
based on what you said, Louis, when I get my workshop might be taken off the program next week if anybody is
I'm
listening.
just, no, I'm just really confused. Why would she leave?
She said she had another thing, and we were the people that she
She had
was
a meeting
really
with
serving.
Kalshi. She had to go get that check, Mark.
I know,
Oh,
I don't
that
know.
makes
No,
that
it's not
makes that
necessarily.
makes sense.
I don't know where she went.
I'm
In
confused
fairness,
about why, if you're leading an org, obviously this is going to spark a lot of conversation
but
amongst
but but
men.
some of the people on that committee some of the people were long term, even way longer than me, who were telling her about the change or about you know NCPG has scholarships, and most of the people in recovery all got shut out of scholarships. Where in the past that might not have happened. Um, so it's crazy. But one thing I want to just add before somebody else takes over for me, I want to go back to what Dan was saying. The one thing we don't sometimes talk about are the parents and what kind of help the parents can get. Um, you know, most of my calls now are from parents, and I send them to Gamanon or some organization or tell them to call the helpline and get help. You know, I'm learning now the best way to help the gamblers sometimes is the parents getting help, learning boundaries, learning how to deal with it, learning how to love their kid, even though they're gambling, by not being able to get hurt by their gambling. Most of the treatment for family members is about empowerment. And I'm hoping if there are any family members here who are not sure, seek help. And by you creating boundaries, the gambler is more likely to quit when they are not getting that money or other, and they're keeping their boundaries is probably the best strategy in keeping their kids from gambling.
Yeah,
Um,
sometimes help is not helpful, and supporting a gambler with food money and rent money is akin to giving them gambling money in a lot of cases, and it's very painful to withhold, but that withholding is actually what can push someone forward to get into treatment eventually. But these are very serious situations, and we don't have time to, litigate, negotiate, plan for regulations and plan for NCPG to wake up. We're facing something that is affecting people in a huger way. The numbers are bigger, the situations are worse. So we really have to do something now. And we have to speak to the people at NCPG that are open to this message and willing to do something right now to get treatment and effective prevention into schools. So we're just not seeing just a ballooning of these numbers because we can't wait. It's too important.
and
But
and
yeah, go ahead, Louis. Well, let me just say
just
something really quickly.
yeah.
You know, most of the people at the NCPG conference would agree with everything we said,
Right.
just to put that out. So it's going to be fun when I'm there with everybody else. I'll walk straight past Heather, but the people there are all on the same page as us. It's the leadership. I'm sorry, Louis.
So something that Dan said earlier that I wanted to bring up and I forgot was this notion of the credit cards and kind of how easy it is to hide the gambling. Um, Dan, I was doing this long before there were any FanDuel apps or prediction markets or anything. I was king of living off the credit card, paying the bookie in cash, and figuring out the credit card when the bill came at the end of the month. And that's how I gambled for a lot of my career. And then when I was back and FanDuel was legal in New York and I was gambling in New York, I would send money on to friends on different Venmos, PayPal's, this app, that app, off credit cards to get cash back in to load the cash back in the accounts. Um, and yeah, it's the physical manifestation of substances and alcohol is, you could I tell people all the time, I can't snort $100,000 worth of cocaine in one night. It's just not physically possible, but it is possible for me to lose that amount on a 2.5 hour basketball game without anybody having any idea that it just happened. And then the spiral, the emotional spiral that happens after that is really what makes the compulsive gambler go crazy, right? That's when I start thinking about who am I going to cheat, borrow, con, lie, steal from? How long do I have until this person, Peter, I'm robbing Peter to pay Paul. I hope Peter and Paul don't ever talk because then Peter's going to tell Paul that I took from Peter and Paul. And the insanity goes and goes and goes. But I will say this, my end stage gambling, my last 6 months of my gambling career, which was a 12-year career, I was physically deteriorating. Physically, I had physical problems with my body, health issues that were all a manifestation of the stress and the lying from the gambling. And so, I I was suicidal at the end of my gambling. And so when I see this random lady come in who's like ran some mid-level public health organizations in her past and come in and take over the NCPG, when I know what this disease causes, right? And this disease will bring you to prison, insanity, or death. And then for her to just start taking money from all these people without even like, where is that $2 million from Kalshi going? What are we doing with that money? Where is that going? How is that helping the compulsive gambler? Or is that increasing your salary? Or is that making the conference a little bit better? By the way, a lot of things I see on LinkedIn are clinicians saying, hey, I can't go to the NCPG because I can't even afford to go. It's like, okay,
Right.
well,
Right.
the people that are actually doing the work can't even afford to go to the conference, but you're taking 2 million from Kalshi.
Right.
And by the way, a whole other side note. I mean, this is petty, but I'll just say it anyways. You only get 2 million. You're gonna take only 2 million. You cheap. That is
Yeah.
cheap.
Yeah.
Cheap. At least 20 million. I'd be like, oh, all right, she got 20 million. Well, let's see what she does with the 20 million. Maybe we can help some people. 2 million. 2 million. What are we doing with 2 million?
They got 6 million from the NFL.
Yeah, I know, but my thing with the
No, I'm not.
NFL is
I'm not saying that
No, but the
that's,
point is the
yeah,
point. Bob,
yeah.
Bob, Bob.
No,
the
I don't remember his name. The CEO of Kalshi has publicly stated that these lawsuits, he considers them to be good publicity. It's great publicity for him. And the methods have changed, but the end result is still the same. I don't think anybody from Kalshi is going to come to see Bobby G and break his kneecaps because he owes them 5 grand. It's completely different. And I'm an expert in prediction markets. I can predict the outcome, and it's going to be the same for everybody. And I'm really proud of the fact that I've got a ton of recovery. Um, I'm just asking when I'm going to NCPG, my mission is we need accountability and responsibility for what they're doing. And there is zero accountability and zero responsibility, and the people with the biggest microphones are shouting this out. And it's only a matter of time before they say the first 5 trades are free, just like give us $5, we'll give you 200. The first 5 trades are free. I can't wait to see that.
And I
I
also wanted
posted
to go for it, Louis.
I posted a picture of me and Heather and I made ChatGPT make like a fake UFC picture of me versus Crooked Heather, and I posted on LinkedIn. I said use promo code Crooked at checkout for your first 20% match bet, no sweat first bet or whatever. And it's just my friend who's helped me with my podcast. He's a finance guy. I record his studio. He took a minority stake in my podcast. He was like, you should go to the conference and you should bring your camera guy with you and follow you around. I'm like, if I try to walk in those doors, I'm gonna be arrested on the spot. If she's blocking me on LinkedIn and Instagram, she won't let me in.
You wouldn't be
Eh,
arrested. You wouldn't
eh,
be arrested.
yeah, two things. It's a hotel, and as long as you're not trying to get into any of the rooms and whatnot,
You won't be
there's not
arrested.
much you can do. But I want to make an apology, and I stand corrected, especially after seeing something in the Q&A just now. I just double checked, and you can self-exclude from Kalshi. So that's one, yeah, I had stated earlier that I didn't believe you
Oh,
could.
wait. You can self-exclude from something like Kalshi, but it's not
Yes.
gambling. So why would one want to self-exclude from something
That
that isn't a
that
problem? It's
That
not
I
even
understand,
gambling.
but I did get there was a comment from one of the moms in there, and she was able to, and I double checked. You can self-exclude. I know it's not. Yeah, that's another quack like a duck.
Okay, let's quack like a duck. Right. I just think it's interesting that someone's been put in such a position of power when they don't have any lived experience. I do think it's interesting that someone leaves a Q&A quite abruptly and excuses themselves from answering questions. It reminds me of an administration that I'm aware of at the moment. It's just what we're looking at is who's in control of what. Um, let's look at this word integrity, right? My personal feelings are on this is we've got sports books, we've got casinos. You know what a poker table is and looks like, right? You know what a casino looks like. Um, that is kind of people know when they're going into a casino and sit down at a slot machine, you know what that looks like, right? What our youth don't aren't aware of is what a gambling addiction feels like or looks like. And I Cowsheet isn't standing up and saying that this is gambling. This isn't gambling. Come in, come in, come in. And that's the problem when it is, but not only is it gambling and they're lying about it, or they're not owning up to it, shall I say. It's how you can gamble on Kalshi. It's what you can gamble on, and it's what it does to the human brain. I mean, it's not normal to think it's fun to gamble on how fast the Palisades fires are going to spread, right? Shouldn't you be like phoning people and seeing if they need some clothes, place to stay? Or are you spending your time betting and trying to gain out of people's loss? As I've said before many times, what are we doing? Sending a message to people that it's fun to gamble on when a missile is going to be dropped on babies. Cauchy allows that to happen. And something that's meant to be governing us as clinicians, as people that do research on this, on how it's harming people, on who it's harming, on the spread of it, how we help people, are are now, as I see, in bed with this platform that say they're not gambling and are manipulating empathy and compassion. So that's just another angle that I look at on it. Louis, I've seen you this week take some shit and slack from people who have had their, I'm going to say, feelings hurt, their feelings hurt. Look, people, we've said in this room, people are good. We've been to the gambling industry. We've actually met people who create the machines. They're not horrible people. People who work in NCPG, who've worked in NCPG for years, we know these people. These are good people. We've had dinner with these people. This is causing some emotional upset in people because I think they're feeling confusion in themselves. We're not saying, and Louis is not saying you. Louis is simply raising awareness. And it is very important that people continue to raise awareness. The Gambling Truth Project continues to raise awareness. We're simply saying the truth.
I,
NCPG have taken
yeah.
money from this platform that are saying that they're not gambling when they simply are. Ask the scientists about it. Louis, I think what you're doing is amazing and incredibly important. You will feel like sometimes you're on an island. You're not. As Mark just said, as we know firsthand, so many people, in fact, most, are not happy with this. So please keep going with your message.
You know,
But
I
remember
will, and
that
I gotta hop off. I'm on my last night of my honeymoon. I'm heading back to New York tomorrow, but I will say that, um, and I said this to Jeffrey because Jeffrey, posted on LinkedIn that I'm attacking people and it's like personally hurting him, and like that I'm calling people crooked. And I'm like, the optics of NCPG taking money from call sheet makes it look crooked. And every company and every business takes on the optics of their leader. That's just how it works. That's how sports work. Sports take on the identity of their head coach and how they're coaching and their playbook and the way they run their offense and their defense, or their captain, or whatever the case is, right? When a company comes along, like Facebook takes on the leadership and the character of Mark Zuckerberg. Same with Elon Musk and Tesla and SpaceX and all these companies. And so I say that the NCPG is crooked because their leader is crooked. And like Mark says, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it probably is a duck. And if they fired Heather tomorrow and Mark, I'm just going to say Mark became the leader of the NCPG, I'd be like, wow, a guy who's in recovery for multiple decades, who's helped compulsive gamblers for the last X amount of years. I feel really good about where this organization is headed, not where it is headed right now.
Well said.
going
you
back to
know,
accountability, the accountability of numbers. In the old days at the racetrack, they used to post every day the handle and the attendance. How much was bet that day at the track? How many people were there? I would love them to post the handle on World Cup. How much was wagered on World Cup,
Yeah,
and how many people
right.
were playing? That would be astronomical. Not big enough room for all the digits.
I'm not saying that, first of all, the reason why they published it, because the last three numbers of the handle were the daily number in the numbers game. So when that's how we determine what, the illegal numbers game was, the last three digits of the handle at the racetrack every day. But I'm not saying, I'm sorry, that Heather is crooked. I'm just saying maybe she's not the best person for the job, or maybe she should have do a little bit more research because the council spent a fortune on hiring her. They took a year, they had committees and all kinds of stuff and spent a lot of money, hired a outside agency to pick her, you know. So I don't think she's crooked. I would never say anybody is crooked. It's their direction. They're not going in the right direction. I was very close with the past leader for over 25 years, Keith White, and he showed up at every, take it, whatever you can want to say about him. He showed up at every one of our meetings. Whenever we asked him for something, we need a GA meeting here or there. Can you do it? He listened to us, and did his best to, when the conference would start, he'd have all the people in recovery stand up and say, these are the people you want to talk to. Is that going to happen? We tried pushing it. We'll see what happens this year. The people in recovery wear a badge. And Bob created a really cool magnetic one a couple of years ago, but we wear badges that we're in recovery there. Come over to us. You got a question, ask us. I just think, like, again, I just see it going in the wrong direction. The people that work there are my friends. I've eaten many meals with them over many years. The staff there is great. It's just the direction, of where it's going, who they're taking money from. And the last thing, in the late 90s or early 2000s, I created a certification process program for tribal casinos that if they did X, 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 and X, we would establish them as certified, that at least they took the training and did the right thing. Whereas that's what the NCPG needs. They need a list of criteria before they're going to take money from somebody of what they're doing responsibly. You know, just weirdly, I was seeing, because they keep pushing, and this to me is one of the big problems is they push they're okay with please gamble responsibly. And I was just looking up in Australia, they said, gamble responsibly was too weak. And now their new rotations are instead of saying gamble responsible, chances are you're about to lose. What's gambling really costing you? Think, is this a bet you really want to place? What are you prepared to lose today? I think those are really cool messages as opposed to, that might wake people up. That might be, the death warnings on cigarette packages where they had to go to reduce smoking.
And that's what I worry is that the messaging for prevention and treatment is going to be this soft sort of placing the responsibility on the gambler. Well, just gamble responsibly instead of odds are you're going to lose or you will lose. And if Kalshi is, in bed, so to speak, with NCPG, then they may have some say about what the effective messaging is going to be. The messaging of Stop Betting Sports is take a break from betting sports so you can understand your compulsion to gamble and learn about the industry and learn about what it is to develop a gambling addiction and what options are out there for you. We just need a lot more forceful messaging. And that's why I'm glad that people are pushing back, like Louis is, causing a fuss. There's something that a fuss, the time is now to cause a fuss with this.
I
And
love
it
that,
does.
Dan. And he really has received a lot of like backlash from people who need the NCPG for one reason or another. As you said, Bob, biting the hand that feeds you. But that's well said, Dan. Advocacy when you raise your hand to become what's that called when we have to stand up in USC and you swear in as a social worker, one of your obligations is to advocate for justice and rights of people. And I think that it's an injustice right now that there's some control going on a level that I think we're not aware of. Uh, NCPG is kind of like going through the back door. We as clinicians, researchers, and advocates are the mechanisms that try and control for harm. This is a public health crisis. And if the NCPG are in control of us, and we are holding our hands out for little dollars to try and do some research to check on the harm, and now we're not getting those dollars. And where are those dollars coming from? Then what is going on? And if questions aren't being answered by the powers that be, I do wonder why this lady was hired and what her intentions are, especially if she's not answering very simple, basic questions like, hey, do you think that not accepting money from Kalshi would have sent a bigger statement? Do you think that would have raised some awareness for the public in a way that we haven't been able to yet? Like, why wouldn't the NCPG take money from Kalshi? Is that because Kalshi is causing harm? Prediction markets, what is this? Is this gambling? Oh, and so by taking money um, from from a platform like Kalshi, it's done the opposite. It's caused them instability. It's made people not feel good about it. Louis is by far not alone, as we know. I commend him. I stand by him. I stand by advocacy, truth, raising awareness, and informed decision making, and helping parents is our number one priority right now, holding up a shield as the arrows of the industry come in and protecting our parents and offering them as much support as they need because they have no idea what to do and where this problem is coming from. And we continue here at Stop Betting Sports to provide whatever we can for parents, as is Kim from Parents Standing Together. The Gambling Truth Project is doing that, raising awareness and going for policy change so that the advertisements are changed, the harmful advertisements, and the insurance companies can see this as gambling. Addiction needs to be covered. Treatment needs to be covered. If someone's run out of money, how can they pay for treatment? So it's just simple things like that that people like Louis are doing, working on every day. That's what he's doing. He's not taking any money from the industry. He's like us. So anyway,
You
keep going.
know, I still would like to, the NCPG is not that big of an enemy because they're not that big of an entity. They're not coming out a lot and saying anything. They just took the money. And who knows, maybe after all the backlash, Heather might get a really good understanding. They do some good. And again, as being part of it, the people that are there, the people that work there are fantastic. I don't believe they're crooked. I believe that they might have taken money, that they shouldn't have taken money.
Going back
Um,
to accountability, though, hello, Counts, hello. Well, how do you plan to use these $2 million? Where is it going to go? Did Counts ask that question? Hey, we're going to give you 2 million. How are you going to use it?
I thought I read in the paper that most of that money was going to go for financial kind of gambling and in that market, that's where that money was going to go into research. But, the one thing I'd love, and I'll see her, and I probably won't walk by her, and I'll say, and I'll be nice and cordial, you know, put the whole, make a big statement and put the whole $2 million into treatment. Everybody will be happy, you know, or whatever, or create better rules of who you get, the criteria for taking money from people. They're not as bad as we're portraying them. They've done tremendous good of the people that like. I know Deb's going to be there. I go to the workshops. I get a lot out of it that I bring home of the research. So I think it goes above and beyond her of what the NCPG actually does. It's the leadership that really puts us maybe in the wrong direction, and that could be corrected. I just got a text, which is so cool. I haven't heard from him in a while, but the former director, Keith White, just texted me that he'll be there next week. So it's pretty interesting to, I'll be really happy to see Keith, who again was a big friend, but he might have taken money too. He did in his reign also, but he always made sure he always tried to put the recovery community first uh, in doing so. So I look forward to seeing him.
Yeah,
Mm.
I'm glad he's going to be there, and I don't know why he left or the circumstances specifically, but he was certainly a very good spokesperson and inclusive with, voices of problem gamblers in the previous conferences. And I hope that that's going to be the case. Apparently not in Nashville as much, but things have the pendulum swings and things change and they can swing back to really getting those voices both in the conference and on the board as well, which is going to be very important.
We are have a special treat. Mark, did you want to share something? I'm going to make you the host so that you
Okay.
can share
I
your.
think I think I could share it anyway. Let me see, because I
Can
just
you?
chat. I just want to give everybody a preview of one of my PSAs that I created for the
Public
conference.
service announcement,
Yeah,
kind of
that
advertisement, which is yeah,
and and if you're in Nashville, I'll be presenting a whole bunch of commercials on. Let's see if I can get this. going, I like this one.
Sports betting is everywhere, on your phone, during every game, in every commercial break. But how do you know when betting has become a problem?
For me, it started with thinking about betting all the time. Then I needed to bet more money to get the same excitement. When I tried to stop, I got restless and irritable. I kept telling myself I'd quit after the next game. I never did. Do you find yourself chasing losses, betting more to win back what you've lost, hiding your gambling from family or friends, borrowing money because of betting, having suicidal thoughts?
These are warning signs of gambling addiction.
I wasn't betting because it was fun anymore. I was betting to escape stress, anxiety, and problems. And it only made things worse.
If sports betting is taking over your thoughts, your money, or your relationships, help is available. Recovery gave me something gambling never could: peace of mind.
The strongest play is asking for help. Call 1-800-MY-RESET.
Were you able to see that and hear that?
It was brilliant.
Yeah, and I have three more of them, one family oriented, and I'm going to compare and contrast them with I don't want to show you the responsible gaming commercials from BetMGM, although actually there's some of them are okay. So I'm going to compare and contrast responsible gaming messages with PSAs.
My job would be to get LeBron James on camera to say, "Hey kids, listen to this.
You're
Take a
right.
listen to this." That's
But
responsibility.
you see, those things were created with AI. I couldn't have done all the stuff. I could have had, LeBron James as the character in it, but as much as I want to, I was talked out of it quite quickly.
Mark,
Uh,
it's brilliant, man. It's an Emmy Award winner.
so yeah, come to my workshop, Deb. I hope you're there at 2 o'clock on Friday, and Robert and anybody else who might be there.
Mark, you got some love in the chat for your commercials. There's some new guests in the house today. We really welcome you. We hope you return. We change up the topics every week, as right now the topics seem to be fast moving and changing and incoming. So we also discuss, we do sometimes some psychoeducational stuff on like what it looks like to have a gambling addiction, how to help someone who might be struggling with a gambling addiction. We also have on our website, stopbettingsports.com, a whole bunch of resources. We are in connection with Parents Standing Together, GamFin, a financial organization that gives support for free to people that gamblers in recovery. They'll be coming on soon. We talk about all sorts of different issues around this, and we really welcome you and hope you return. Today we are, and I've just heard from Rob Minnick as well. Rob is going to watch the finals today. Is the World Cup finals kicks off in an hour, so we'll probably wrap now to let everyone have the rest of their Sunday. We are the Sunday Project. We are a team of experts in the field and in recovery. We have a range in our team. You'll see us all back here soon. So have a lovely, thank you guys. Yep. Thank you to you in the chat. Have a lovely rest of the Sunday and hope to see you again next week. Take care. That will be the end of our Sunday project.
Thanks,
Cheers,
Deb.
guys.
Bye,
Welcome.
Deb. Thank you.